Okay, so picture this. You're walking down a busy city street, right? Faces everywhere. But how many of those people look truly happy?
Mm. It's a good question.
That's the question that we're diving into today with Bertrand Russell's The Conquest of Happiness.
I love that book.
Me too.
It's amazing how relevant it still is, considering it was written back in 1930.
Yeah.
I mean, Russell was a philosopher and mathematician.
Right.
But he was also really interested in just the human condition, why so many people struggle with unhappiness.
And he wasn't just talking about like a few sad folks here and there.
Right.
He was actually arguing that unhappiness was incredibly common.
Yeah.
Even for people who seem to have it all.
Mm.
He describes it as this kind of underlying sense of unease.
Yeah.
This feeling that something's just not quite right
Yeah.
with modern life.
And right from the get-go,
Yeah.
Russell makes it clear that he's not talking about clinical depression.
Right.
Or anything like that. It's more this general sense of discontent. A feeling that many people experience, even if they can't quite put it into words.
So why are so many people unhappy then?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Russell really dives deep into this and explores a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
But one that I find particularly fascinating is what he calls Byronic unhappiness.
Byronic unhappiness.
Yeah, and it's all about this sense of meaninglessness.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
He actually uses the book of Ecclesiastes as an example.
Interesting.
Which, if you've never read it,
Yeah.
it's this ancient text. It's
Yeah.
full of lines like, vanity of vanities, all is vanity.
Right.
It's basically just this deep existential sigh,
Yeah.
questioning the point of it all.
Yeah.
And Russell saw this same kind of mindset reflected in the unhappiness of his own time.
It's like people going through the motions,
Yeah.
but lacking that spark,
Yeah.
that sense of purpose
Right.
that makes life feel truly worthwhile.
Exactly. And Russell argued that this sense of meaninglessness wasn't just some philosophical abstraction.
Yeah.
It was directly impacting people's happiness in very real ways.
So that's one piece of the puzzle then.
It is.
But Russell doesn't stop there.
Oh, no, he keeps going.
He goes on to identify a whole bunch of other factors
Yeah.
that contribute to this widespread unhappiness.
Hmm.
So what's next on the list?
Well, he really digs into the impact of competition,
Okay.
particularly in the workplace. And he argues that this constant pressure to succeed,
Yeah.
to get ahead,
Right.
to be the best,
Yeah.
can be incredibly draining.
Right.
It leads to anxiety, stress, this feeling that we're never quite good enough.
It's like we're all stuck on this hamster wheel.
Yes.
Running and running.
Yeah.
But never actually getting anywhere.
And, he wrote this back in the 1930s.
Right.
I mean, just imagine how much more intense that pressure has become in our hyper-connected, always-on world.
Oh,
It's basically a recipe for unhappiness.
right. And it's like we're constantly comparing ourselves to others.
Yes.
Checking social media.
Right.
Seeing everyone's highlight reels.
Exactly.
Feeling inadequate.
And Russell argues that this kind of comparison game,
Yeah.
it takes our focus away from what truly matters.
Right.
From the things that bring us joy and fulfillment. We end up chasing external validation
Right.
instead of cultivating a sense of inner peace and contentment.
Okay, so competition is a big one.
It is.
What else did Russell identify?
Okay, so this one might surprise you.
Okay.
Boredom.
Really, boredom.
I know, right?
I would think with all the technology
Uh-huh.
and entertainment options we have today,
Yeah.
that people would be less bored than ever.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But that's what's so interesting about Russell's argument.
Oh.
He suggests that the rise of mass entertainment,
Hmm.
while seemingly offering us all this distraction,
Yeah.
might actually be contributing to the problem.
How so?
Well, he argues that passive consumption of entertainment,
Okay.
whether it's binge-watching TV,
Yeah.
scrolling through social media, playing video games,
Mm-hmm.
it can actually make us feel more empty
Yeah.
and disconnected in the long run. It's like
Yeah.
we're constantly seeking stimulation
Right.
from external sources
Yeah.
instead of cultivating a sense of inner richness and engagement.
So it's not just about being busy.
No,
It's about being engaged
Yes.
with life in a meaningful way.
exactly.
Finding activities that truly spark our interest and passion.
Right. And that's something that Russell emphasizes throughout the book.
Okay.
This idea of active engagement with life
Yeah.
as opposed to passive consumption.
Okay, so we've got meaninglessness, we've got competition, we've got boredom.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound pretty bleak.
I know it's a bit of a downer so far.
Yeah, is there any hope for happiness?
Don't worry. Russell doesn't leave us hanging.
Okay.
He does delve into some pretty dark territory.
Yeah.
But he also offers a lot of hope
Okay.
and practical advice for cultivating happiness.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Because so far,
Yeah.
this deep dive has been a bit of a downer.
Well, it's important to understand the causes of unhappiness
Sure.
before we can start to address them.
Right.
And Russell doesn't shy away from the difficult stuff.
Yeah.
He explores it head on.
So what's next on this roller coaster of emotions?
Okay, so next up, he tackles fatigue.
Fatigue?
Yeah, and he's not just talking about physical exhaustion.
Right.
He actually distinguishes between physical and emotional fatigue,
Okay.
emphasizing how the latter can be incredibly draining.
So it's not just about being tired.
Right.
It's about feeling emotionally depleted.
Yes.
Like you don't have the energy or motivation to engage with life
Exactly.
in a meaningful way.
And he talks about how mental discipline,
Okay.
the ability to manage our worries and anxieties,
Yeah.
is key to combating this emotional exhaustion.
Mm.
He even shares his own struggles with anxiety.
Oh.
Yeah, particularly around public speaking, and how he learned to manage it through a kind of mental discipline.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So he's not just talking about this stuff in the abstract.
No.
Sharing his own personal experiences.
Right. He was very much about finding practical solutions.
Yeah.
Not just philosophizing in the abstract.
Okay, so fatigue, emotional exhaustion, another happiness killer.
It is.
What else does Russell have in store for us?
Okay, well, buckle up.
Oh, no.
Because he doesn't shy away from the darker side of human nature.
Okay.
He tackles envy next.
Envy.
Yeah, and how it poisons our ability to enjoy what we have.
I think we all know that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like that little green monster
Yes.
that rears its ugly head when we
Uh-huh.
see someone else succeeding
Right.
or enjoying something that we want.
And Russell gets into the nitty-gritty of how envy works.
Okay.
He uses vivid examples, even among scientists and intellectuals, to show how it can lead to a constant state of dissatisfaction.
So it's not just about wanting what someone else has.
No.
It's about feeling diminished by their success.
Exactly.
It's like their happiness somehow makes us feel less happy.
Yeah, and he argues that envy is a major obstacle to happiness.
Right.
Because it keeps us focused on what we lack
Yeah.
instead of appreciating what we have. It's like we're so busy looking over the fence
Yeah.
at our neighbor's greener grass
Right.
that we forget to water our own.
So we're adding envy to our growing list of happiness killers.
We are.
What's next?
Okay, this one's a bit of a curveball.
Okay.
The sense of sin.
The sense of sin.
I know it might seem like a bit of an outdated concept,
Yeah.
but he approaches it in a very insightful way.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
So how does he connect the sense of sin to unhappiness?
Yeah.
Well, he argues that many societal moral codes are rooted in irrational fears and anxieties
Okay.
that are instilled in us during childhood.
Right.
Like he gives this example of a child who is told that it's wrong to lie, not because lying is inherently harmful,
Yeah.
but because they'll be punished by God if they do.
Hmm.
This creates an association
Right.
between certain behaviors
Yeah.
and a sense of fear and guilt.
It's like we internalize these rules
Yeah.
without ever really questioning their validity
Yeah.
or their impact on our well-being.
Exactly. And then we spend the rest of our lives
Yeah.
feeling guilty and ashamed about things
Mhm.
that might not actually be harmful or wrong.
Yeah.
And this can lead to a lot of unnecessary suffering and unhappiness.
So it's about examining those ingrained beliefs,
Yes.
those moral codes that we've inherited,
Mm-hmm.
and asking ourselves whether they're truly serving us
Right.
or whether they're actually holding us back
Yeah.
from living a happier and more fulfilling life.
Exactly. And it's not about rejecting morality altogether.
Right.
It's about developing a more mature and nuanced understanding of right and wrong.
Oh.
One that's based on reason and compassion.
Yeah.
Rather than fear and guilt.
Okay, so we've got meaninglessness, we've got competition, we've got boredom, we've got fatigue, we've got envy,
We do.
we've got a misplaced sense of sin.
Yeah.
This is getting heavy.
It is.
What else is on Russell's list of happiness zappers?
He goes on to examine persecution mania
Persecution mania.
and how feeling persecuted by others can lead to unhappiness.
Oh.
And he breaks down the different forms this can take, from like mild suspicion
Yeah.
to full-blown paranoia.
So it's not just about actual persecution.
Yeah.
It's about feeling persecuted,
Right.
even when there's no real threat.
Exactly. It's about this underlying sense of distrust and suspicion.
Yeah.
And that can make it really difficult to
Yeah.
form healthy relationships.
Right.
And experience a sense of belonging.
It's like you're always on guard.
Yeah.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
And that kind of hypervigilance can be incredibly draining.
Right.
It prevents us from relaxing, feeling safe, experiencing the joy of genuine connection with others.
Okay, so we're adding a sense of persecution to our list.
We are.
Is there any light at the end of this tunnel?
Oh, there is.
Okay, good.
Russell doesn't leave us in the darkness.
Okay.
He explores the depths of human unhappiness.
Right.
But he also offers a way out.
Okay.
He believes that happiness is achievable,
Okay.
but it requires effort
Yeah.
and a willingness to challenge our own patterns of thought and behavior.
So where do we go from here? We've got this long list of things that contribute to unhappiness.
It is quite a list.
How do we actually start to cultivate happiness in our lives?
That's where the second part of the book comes in.
Okay.
Russell lays out a framework for achieving happiness. And it's surprisingly practical and down to earth.
Well, I'm definitely ready for some practical advice.
I hear you.
After all of this doom and gloom,
Yeah.
let's dive into Russell's recipe for happiness
Okay.
in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've explored the dark side,
Yeah.
all those factors that contribute to unhappiness.
Right.
But now it's time to flip the script
Okay.
and explore what Russell suggests as paths to happiness.
Yes, please.
Give me that happiness recipe.
I know I need it.
All right, so he actually lays out a whole framework for achieving happiness. And one of the first ingredients he highlights is zest.
Zest.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What does he mean by that?
Well, it's about having a passionate engagement with life.
Okay.
Approaching things with a sense of curiosity, openness,
Yeah.
a willingness to try new things.
Okay.
It's that spark that makes you feel alive.
So it's not just about going through the motions.
Yeah.
It's about finding activities that truly excite you.
Exactly.
Things that make you want to jump out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, and he contrasts this with that passive consumption
Right.
that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
He argues that true zest comes from actively participating in life, from creating something,
Okay.
from pursuing your passions.
So instead of just watching someone else bake a cake on TV,
Yeah.
you actually go and bake the cake yourself.
Exactly. Or instead of just scrolling through travel photos on Instagram, actually plan a trip
Yeah.
and experience those places firsthand.
It's about being an active participant in your own life
Yes.
rather than a passive observer.
Right. And that active engagement,
Yeah.
that's where the zest comes from.
Okay, so zest is a key ingredient.
It is.
What else does Russell recommend?
Okay, so next he talks about affection.
Affection.
Yeah, and he makes this really important distinction
Okay.
between two different types of affection.
Two types of affection.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
So he says there's a type of affection that's rooted in security and fear,
Okay.
and then there's a type of affection that's based in genuine joy and connection.
So the first type, the one based on fear,
Yeah.
that sounds a bit unhealthy.
It can be, yeah.
Okay.
It's driven by a need to feel safe and secure,
Right.
and it often manifests as clinginess, possessiveness, a fear of being alone.
Like you're holding on too tight.
Yes.
Afraid to let go.
Exactly. And that kind of affection
Yeah.
can actually smother the relationship.
Right.
It can create a dynamic of dependence rather than true connection.
So what does healthy affection look like?
Well, it's about finding joy in connecting with others.
Okay.
It's about giving and receiving love freely
Mm.
without expectation
Yeah.
or fear of loss.
It's about being present with the other person.
Yes.
Enjoying their company,
Uh-huh.
celebrating who they are.
Exactly. And that kind of affection is incredibly nourishing. It creates a sense of belonging,
Right.
purpose,
Yeah.
connection that transcends our individual selves.
It's like the difference between a plant that's struggling to survive
Yeah.
in a dark corner and a plant that's thriving in the sunshine.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first type of affection is like trying to force a connection,
Right.
while the second type
It's like creating an environment where love can flourish naturally
Okay, so we've got zest.
with you.
We've got affection.
Yeah.
What's the next item on Russell's happiness menu?
All right. So next, he tackles a big one, meaning and purpose.
Meaning and purpose.
Yeah. He argues that one of the greatest sources of unhappiness is this feeling that our lives are meaningless.
Right.
That we're just going through the motions without any real sense of direction.
It goes back to that Byronic unhappiness.
It does.
Yeah.
We were talking about earlier, that
Yeah.
sense of existential dread.
Exactly.
And Russell believes that finding meaning and purpose is essential for happiness.
Right.
But he also acknowledges that it's not always easy to do.
So how do we find meaning in our lives?
Right.
Is it something we discover or something we create?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
He believes that there are certain universal values,
Okay.
like love, truth, and beauty,
Yeah.
that can provide a sense of meaning and purpose.
But he also emphasizes the importance of finding our own unique contribution
Right.
to the world.
So it's about finding something that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
Something that we believe in
Uh-huh.
and pouring our energy and creativity into.
Exactly. It could be anything from raising a family to volunteering in your community to pursuing a creative passion. The key is to find something that aligns with your values, something that you feel called to do.
It's about making a difference in the world, however small it may seem.
Right, and that sense of contribution, that feeling that you're making a positive impact, that's a powerful source of meaning and purpose.
So we've got zest,
We do.
we've got affection, we've got meaning and purpose. Anything else?
He also talks about the importance of gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah, which might sound cliche,
Right.
but it's actually backed by a lot of research.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the negative,
It is.
the things we lack, the things we want.
Right.
But taking the time to appreciate the good things in our lives can make a big difference.
It can. It's about shifting your focus from scarcity to abundance, from what you don't have to what you do have.
It's like that saying, count your blessings.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be big things.
Right.
It could be as simple as appreciating a warm cup of coffee, a beautiful sunset, a kind gesture from a stranger.
Those little moments of gratitude can really add up.
They can. And research has shown that people who practice gratitude regularly are happier, healthier, and even sleep better.
Okay, so gratitude is definitely going on my happiness to-do list.
Good.
What else does Russell recommend?
All right. So this one might be especially relevant to our modern world.
Okay.
Simplicity.
Simplicity.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, he argues that we often get so caught up in the pursuit of material possessions and external validation that we lose sight of what truly matters. Right. We end up feeling stressed, anxious, and empty.
Yeah.
Even when we achieve those things we thought would make us happy.
It's like we're on a treadmill,
Yes.
constantly striving for more, but never actually feeling satisfied.
Exactly. And he's not advocating for poverty or asceticism.
Yeah.
It's about finding a balance.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that true happiness doesn't come from things, but from experiences, relationships, a sense of inner peace.
It's about letting go of that relentless pursuit of more.
Yes.
And focusing on what truly brings us joy and contentment.
Right. And that can look different for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it might mean decluttering your home,
Okay.
spending less time on social media,
Right.
or simply being more mindful of your consumption habit.
It's about creating a life that's aligned with your values.
Yes.
A life that's simple but meaningful.
Exactly. And I think that's something that a lot of people are craving in today's world.
Yeah.
There's a growing movement towards minimalism, towards living with less,
Yeah.
focusing on what truly matters.
So we've got zest,
We do.
we've got affection, we've got meaning and purpose, gratitude, simplicity.
Right.
Is there anything else on Russell's list of happiness hacks?
Well, there's one more
Good.
that's particularly powerful.
Okay.
And it ties into a lot of what we've already discussed.
I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
Okay, so living in the present moment.
Living in the present moment.
Yes.
Being present.
Mindfulness, yes.
It seems like everyone's talking about that these days.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
Russell argued that we often spend too much time dwelling on the past.
Right.
Or worrying about the future.
Yeah.
And this prevents us from fully experiencing the joys of the present moment.
It's like we're so busy chasing after some future happiness.
Yes.
That we miss out on the happiness that's already available to us right now.
Exactly. And he encourages us to cultivate a sense of mindfulness, to pay attention to the beauty and wonder that exists in the everyday moments of our lives.
So it's about savoring a delicious meal,
Yeah.
appreciating a beautiful sunset,
Uh-huh.
or simply enjoying the company of loved ones.
And these moments of presence, of simply being fully engaged in the here and now,
Right.
can be incredibly powerful sources of happiness and contentment.
It's about appreciating the little things.
Yes.
The everyday miracles that we often take for granted.
Exactly. And that's something that we can all cultivate, regardless of our circumstances.
Yeah.
It's a matter of shifting our focus from the worries of the past and the anxieties of the future to the richness of the present moment.
Okay, so we've got a pretty comprehensive list here.
We do.
Zest, affection, meaning and purpose. Gratitude, simplicity, and living in the present moment.
It's a good list.
That's a lot to digest.
It is. But the good news is you don't have to do it all at once.
Okay.
It's about taking small steps, incorporating these principles into your life one at a time.
It's about making gradual changes that feel sustainable and authentic to you.
Exactly. And it's a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, challenges and setbacks.
Of course.
But the key is to keep moving forward. Keep experimenting. Keep learning and keep growing.
So how do we actually apply all of this to our own lives?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. Where do we start?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something that Russell addresses directly in the book. He encourages us to be our own happiness scientists, to experiment with different approaches, and to see what works for us as individuals.
So it's about becoming more self-aware?
Yes.
About paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And seeing how they impact our overall happiness.
Exactly. And it's about being willing to challenge our own assumptions. You know, our own patterns of thinking and behaving that might be contributing to our unhappiness.
So it's not just about adding more things to our lives. It's about taking a step back. Examining what's already there. And seeing what we can let go of. What we can simplify.
He talks about the importance of introspection. You know, taking the time to really understand ourselves, our motivations, our values, and what truly brings us joy.
It's like taking an inventory of your life.
It is.
Seeing what's working, what's not working, and making adjustments accordingly.
And that process of self-discovery, that's where the real magic happens.
So it's not just about reading a book or listening to a podcast. It's about taking that knowledge, applying it to our own lives.
It's about taking action. It's about making changes, however small they may seem. And seeing how they impact our overall well-being.
And it's a lifelong journey, isn't it?
It is. Happiness isn't a destination. You reach and then you're done. It's an ongoing process of growth, learning, and self-discovery.
It's about constantly striving to be the best version of ourselves. And to create a life that's filled with joy, meaning, and purpose.
And while there's no one-size-fits-all approach to happiness, Russell provides a valuable framework that we can all use to navigate this journey.
So we've explored the causes of unhappiness.
We have.
We've delved into Russell's recipe for happiness, and we've talked about the importance of self-awareness and taking action. So what's the key takeaway that you want our listener to walk away with?
I think if I had to boil it all down to one key takeaway, it's this emphasis on self-awareness. You know, he constantly encourages us to examine our own beliefs and behaviors. To really understand what's driving our unhappiness.
He really challenges us. To ask ourselves those tough questions.
He does.
Why am I unhappy?
Right.
What are the habits, the patterns, the unexamined beliefs
Yes.
that are keeping me stuck?
And it's not just about identifying the problems.
Right.
It's about taking action.
Yeah.
Experimenting with different approaches.
Right.
Seeing what works for us as individuals.
It's like he says, you know, the conquest of happiness.
Yes.
It's an active pursuit.
It is.
It's not a passive state of being.
Right.
So it's not a quick fix.
No.
It's a journey
Yeah.
of self-discovery and growth.
And that journey starts
Yeah.
with understanding ourselves better.
Right.
What are our values? What are our strengths?
Right.
What are our weaknesses?
Right.
What truly brings us joy?
It's like becoming a researcher
Yes.
in your own life, gathering data,
Yeah.
analyzing the results,
Yeah.
and making adjustments along the way.
And that's where Russell's insights can be so valuable.
Okay.
He provides us with a framework,
Yeah.
a set of tools
Right.
that we can use to navigate this journey.
One thing that really resonated with me
Yeah.
was his emphasis on living in the present moment.
He was way ahead of his time
Right.
in recognizing the importance of mindfulness.
Yeah.
He saw how often we get caught up in the past,
Right.
worry about the future,
Yeah.
and we miss out on the beauty and wonder of the present moment.
It's like we're constantly chasing
Yes.
after some elusive future happiness,
right,
while overlooking the happiness that's already available to us right now.
Exactly.
It's so true.
And he encourages us to cultivate a sense of presence, to savor the simple pleasures of life.
Right.
Appreciate the everyday miracles that we often take for granted.
It's about being fully engaged in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Whether it's enjoying a delicious meal, listening to your favorite music,
Right.
having a meaningful conversation with a loved one.
And those moments of presence.
Yeah.
They can be incredibly powerful sources of joy and contentment.
So in a way,
Yeah.
Russell's book is an invitation to wake up to the beauty and wonder that's all around us.
Yes.
It's a call to action.
It is.
To create a life that's filled with zest, affection, meaning purpose, gratitude, and simplicity.
And it's a reminder
Yeah.
that true happiness is within our reach, but it requires us to be active participants in our own lives.
So what does all of this mean for you, dear listener?
Yeah, what one small thing
Right.
from this deep dive could you try applying to your own life?
Maybe it's being more mindful of envy, finding more zest in your day, or cultivating a deeper kind of affection.
Or perhaps it's simply taking a few moments each day
Right.
to appreciate the good things in your life.
Yeah.
To practice gratitude.
For the simple blessings that we often overlook.
Whatever resonates with you,
Yeah.
we encourage you to take action.
Yes.
To put these ideas into practice. And to see how they impact your own journey towards happiness.
Remember, happiness is not a destination.
Right.
It's a journey. And it's a journey worth taking.
So keep exploring, keep experimenting, keep learning,
Yeah.
and most importantly, keep believing that a happier and more fulfilling life is possible for you.
And we'll be here to support you along the way.
Yes.
With more deep dives into the wisdom of the ages.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the Conquest of Happiness.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Yes.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep seeking, keep growing,
Yeah.
and keep living a life that's filled with joy, meaning, and purpose.
See you next time.